What do parents usually expect from their children, and what does the Prophet say about this? Usually parents expect one of these two or three things. They either want what they are from their children. Suppose I am a teacher, I want my child also to be a teacher. If I am a businessman, I want my son or daughter also to be a businessman. If I am a doctor, I want my children also to be doctors. Or I have seen the problems in my career. Therefore, I don't want what I am right now. I don't want my children to be what I am right now. I am a teacher and I have experienced the problems of this profession. So I don't want my children to be teachers. Or sometimes it is also like this. The parents have failed to accomplish something in their life. I wanted to become a police officer, and I think unfortunately I couldn't become a police officer. Then what do I expect from my children? Any one of my children should become a police officer. So what I have failed to accomplish in my life, my children will be able to accomplish. These are the common expectations of our parents from their children. But according to the Prophet, all these are not correct. Next question, why shouldn't the parents expect their children to be like them? Yeah. What is wrong in expecting our children to be exactly like us? We shouldn't try to force a mold on our children, because they have their own individual views and independent personalities. Repeatedly I am telling this. And the Prophet was also having this in his mind while replying to the question raised by that lady carrying a baby in her arms. So we shouldn't expect our children to be exactly like us. Children have their own destinies and they have a unique role to play in this world. Who knows? Because the ability of a child is limitless. Our children are born with gifts given by God, and nobody knows except God what those abilities are. And it is known to the master, and also it is there in the creation. That's the child. Therefore, children have their own destinies, they have a unique role to play. We should not expect our children to be like us. Let us go to the next line of this poem. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. You may strive, you may try hard if you want. If your daughter is a very good dancer, you can also try to be a dancer. Nothing wrong in it. If your son is a very good artist, you can also learn the tricks or the skills of painting or drawing. Nothing wrong in it. But you may have to work hard. You work hard, you try hard, and be what your children are. You may strive to be like them, but not to make them like you. You are an artist. Don't try to, or don't force your children to be an artist. But sometimes it happens. If the parents are artists, children also become artists. That's possible. But it should not be done on compulsion or by force. If they are interested, if the children are interested, they can become anything what they want to become. But seek not to make them like you. Don't force your children to be what you are. You can become what your children are. That's also very interesting. It is because for life goes not backward nor tarries with yesterday. How does life move? Life always goes forward. It doesn't tarry. Tarry means linger, stay. Stay for a longer duration. Life doesn't stay for a longer duration in yesterday, with yesterday. Ours is the past, it's the history. And for the child, it is the future. He or she has to live and achieve. So don't force your child to come back to the past. That is what you are. For life goes not backward nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. Look at this line. One more beautiful line. Already I have told you that though Khalil Gibran doesn't follow the traditional style of poetry writing, he follows certain poetic devices and through which his poems have become very popular. Here again, Khalil Gibran uses one particular or another poetic device, a figure of speech. You can notice here, you are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. Find out the figure of speech used here. I think there are two figures of speech. Which is the figure of speech in the first part? You are the bows. And which is the figure of speech in the next part? Children as living arrows are sent forth. So there are two figures of speech. I told you the first one is you are the bows. When I say you are the bows, can you guess? Yeah, it is nothing but the metaphor. You are the bows, a metaphorical expression is used here, you are the bows. What is a metaphor? Metaphor is a figure of speech in which a word or a phrase is applied to an object to which it is literally not applicable. A figure of speech, metaphor is a figure of speech in which a word or phrase is applied to an object to which it is literally not applicable. Here, which are those two words? You, the parents. Bows, it is an object. You, the bow is applied to you, the parents. Literally, these two words are not applicable to each other. But the poet uses this, which means the parents are the bows. This figure of speech is called the metaphor. One more example. Can you think of another example for a metaphor? I can give you if you want. All religions are the branches of the same tree. If I make a sentence like this, all religions are the branches of a same tree. Religion and the branches of a tree, literally they are not at all connected to each other, but still you can compare them. And here this kind of comparison is called, if you compare a religions to the branches of trees, we call it a metaphor. Here parents are compared to the bows. In the next part there is another expression, children as living arrows. Here children are compared with the living arrows, Jivanta Banagalu. Again there are two words, literally they don't have any connections, but still they are compared, but in a different way. You can notice there one word as is used. When two words are compared using either a word as or like, we call that comparison or a figure of speech is called a simile. Here, children as living arrows is the next figure of speech, which is simile. You can give another example if you want for a simile. He fought like a lion in the battle. Here I used the word like, so by comparing like that, it becomes a simile. So you have seen two figures of speech here. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. You can see a picture here. In this picture, there is a bow, and who is sending forth that arrow from that bow is the question. Can you imagine? Is it the parent who is sending the arrow from the bow? No. It can't be the parent, because already the prophet has said, you are the bows. Parents are the bows. So if the parents are the bow, then they can't become the archer. Children as the living arrows. So children are the living arrows. Now the one answer for one question is remaining, who that person is who is sending forth the arrows. Go to the next line and you will get the answer for that. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. The archer sees the mark upon the path of infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Dear students, can you notice the words he, his? In these words, the first letter, the H, is capital. What does it mean? If we use a capital letter in the word he or his, it suggests that those words refer to none other than that force. In the beginning itself we discussed about that. That force is responsible for our children. And that force is stronger than ourselves, and we call that force as nature or God. And who then is that archer? The answer is very simple. That archer is none other than that force greater than ourselves, and it is the wish or the desire of that force which is responsible for the birth of our children. So here, what is the archer doing? What is God doing? He has his eyes set on a target. You can see there, his eyes are set on a target. And where is that target? According to the prophet, that target is upon the path of infinite. What is the meaning of the word infinite? In Kannada we say ananta. Ananta dura. The duravanna alate madlik sadhya illadashtu dura. The distance cannot be measured. Such a distance is called infinite. So where do you want the children to reach? Which is the destination for your children? If we fix a destination for our children, certainly it will have a limit. But if the archer decides the destination for our children, then the destination or the distance will be infinite. Therefore the archer sets his eyes upon the path of the infinite. In the Indian philosophy, according to the Indian philosophy, we say that we all have come from infinity and we are on our journey back to infinity. Where have we come from? We don't know. Where were we earlier before this birth? We don't know. We say that we have come, all of us have come from God's world. Where is it? Where is the kingdom of God? It is there, but the distance cannot be measured. Again, that distance is infinite. We all have come from infinity, and where are we going? After the death, we will go back to infinity. That's one interpretation. The other interpretation is the one which is very simple, what we discussed just now. It is the archer or the God himself knows the destination for our children. Therefore, the arrow is in his hand. So don't take that arrow into your hands. That is the message the prophet is giving through this poem on children. Don't take that arrow into your hands. You will be doing injustice to your children if you do so. Let the arrows be in the hands of the archer only. Then what is your role here? Again, all these things are the metaphorical expressions used by the poet here. What is your role here? Your role is to become a bow. What role a bow has to play? It is given in the next line. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. So what should you do? What is your role? By being a bow to your children who are considered as or compared to the living arrows. Living arrows, remember. The adjective living is quite interesting to notice here. Our role is to bend. You can see that bow, how it bends. The more the bow bends, larger the distance the arrow will cover. It will cover a larger distance if the bow bends more. So let the parents bend in such a way that the arrow will go swift and far. Let the arrow go far and reach its destination. And how should you feel? How should you feel when you bend for your children? Now, bending for the children doesn't mean that you have to yield to the demands of your children. Nowadays, children, even before they enter the school, they may demand for a cell phone. And you bend and you yield for the demand. It doesn't mean like that. Here, bending means assisting or providing a suitable atmosphere for your children to help them reach their destination.